assemble! Student teachers, listen carefully. The next generation needs you. You have a top secret mission to complete today. But first, we need to debrief you.
We have come here today on a mission to show you how you can change the world. The world's language and communication is changing rapidly. But before you are ready to accept your mighty responsibility of changing the world, we need to debrief you in the field of multiliteracies.
In 1994, 10 educators combined their awesome powers to create a new form of literacy called Multiliteracies. They came to be known as the New London Group. They dared to confront some of the mightiest challenges facing literacy education as a result of a rapidly changing world.
Anstey and Bull state that the New London Group sought to empower their students and equip them for change and the future through multiliteracies. In very simple terms, multiliteracies encapsulate a broad view of literacy that reflects the need for pedagogy to reflect modern society.
The world is changing, student teachers. Contemporary society is marked by radical and dramatic socio-economic changes. Society has changed, and so has literacy.
But how has the world and literacy changed?
So glad you asked. In the 1950s, there was a very different view of how to equip learners with the skills to be literate. Traditional literacy pedagogy was highly focused on a print-based approach, meaning reading and writing. But this narrow view of literacy teaching has no place in the contemporary world. Why would you want to limit the world and your classroom when there are so many rich experiences available?
So goodbye, boring teachers, here!
And welcome to the future.
With recent developments in technology, the pre-existing barriers to communication have been replaced by a globalised community.
Whoa, slow down. By globalisation, we mean the tendency for economic, social, political and cultural processes to take place on a global stage rather than within the confines of particular countries or regions.
In English, please.
Globalisation has led to an increase in cultural diversity. We now live in a multicultural, pluralistic society in which difference has become the norm.
Communication technology has rapidly expanded.
Yeah, man, there's like a whole new world of technology out there.
Mass communication has enabled us to interact with the world in new ways. We are beginning to see a greater diversity of texts. In technology, we are seeing combinations of text, images, and audio. Oh yeah, right. Remember, Anstey said it is important that we do not construct multiliteracies as only about new technologies.
Now, let's take a look at a multi-literate person. Our awesome sidekick, Christine. Christine is multi-literate because she has used her literacy knowledge to utilise new technology successfully. She has a repertoire of literacy skills that she can adapt to unfamiliar contexts. She can also critically analyse text to identify their underlying messages. To function effectively in contemporary society, we need to be multiliterate.
Yeah, right on! Approaches that focus solely on traditional print and language approaches to literacy are no longer sufficient. This does not mean, however, that they are no longer necessary. To be multiliterate, learners need to possess the skills to engage with traditional print-based texts as well as utilising new technology.
Globalisation and new technology mean our view of literacy has broadened. Now we talk about many literacies or multiliteracies because we can recognise that not all knowledge can be translated into words.
Boring. Get to the point. What is multiliteracies?
Fine, you want multiliteracies? Up there, right there. Multiliteracies focus on how literacy has been redefined by social, technological and economic change. They focus on multimedia and technology, cultural and linguistic diversity, and yes, even critical literacy.
Put simply, the world is changing and texts are changing. Consequently, literacy is changing. As a result, pedagogy will need to change.
Multiliteracies focuses on change and equipping students for the future. It is about providing learners with the skills and strategies to become lifelong learners and adapt to an ever-changing world.
Now we have to brief you on multiliteracies. We are ready to reveal what you've all been waiting for. Student teachers, we're about to tell you how you can harness the power of multiliteracies to change the world.
That's right. No longer will you be mere student teachers. You will become agents for social change.
But guys, how are we going to do all that?
Duh, we're going to tell them about multiliteracies for social change.
Oh yeah, multiliteracies for social change.
Yeah!
What do we mean when we say multiliteracies for social change, you ask?
Well, Cope and Calancis suggest that literacy educators and students must view themselves as active participants in social change, which shapes citizens' working, public and private lives. Potvin claims that numerous educational researchers have commented on the interwoven nature of social justice, literacy and pedagogy.
Banks argues that literacy education should aim to create a more socially just world.
We are all active designers and makers of the future. We are responsible for designing our individual and collective futures. What kind of a future do you envision? We can empower our students.
We can change the world.
We can make a better future.
Ayer states that teaching should be guided by an unshakable commitment to help human beings reach the full measure of their humanity, and a willingness to stretch toward a future fit for all, a place of peace and justice.
Will your students be active citizens? Will they change the world?
Will they achieve social change? By harnessing the power of multiliteracies for social change, they can.
Social change is about using our awesome powers to save the world. Education Queensland states that social change acknowledges that in a democratic society, all individuals and groups have the right to engage in the creation of that society.
According to the South Australian Department of Education, multiliteracies for social change is about developing questions around values, identity and power. Learners must approach literacies with a critical lens.
Educators and students must ask questions and listen to different points of view around the kinds of social futures they envisage for themselves and the world.
Yeah, but how are they going to teach it?
Well, to harness the power that is multiliteracies for social change, the New London Group invented 4 superpowers that, when combined to plan literacy, enable teachers to become super teachers. These were called situated practice, overt instruction, critical framing, and transformed practice.
Superpower number 1. Situated practice involves building on real-world, everyday experiences of students. This means incorporating literacy practices from home and everyday activities that involve literacy.
Superpower number 2, overt instruction, involves using explicit teaching to reveal the secrets of literacy to students. This means that teachers use scaffolding, explicit language and meta-language to describe the mental processes that literate individuals use.
Superpower number 3. Critical framing occurs when students are encouraged to interpret the social context and purpose of texts. Critical framing empowers students to analyse texts so that they can recognise agendas and ideologies at work in texts. Learners could accomplish this by analysing advertisements to identify their purpose and underlying messages.
Superpower number 4, transformed practice, involves students transforming what they've learned and applying it into a new situation. Transformed practice is all about taking action to facilitate social change. By combining these superpowers, you can transform your classroom and even the entire world into a better place.
But those 4 superpowers are really hard to understand.
Well, not if you use the 4 resource model.
We related the 4 superpowers of multiliteracy suggested by the New London Group to the 4 resource model. You may be familiar with Australia's very own secret literacy agents, Luke and Freebody, and their 4 resource model of literacy.
Anstey and Bull suggest that the 4 resource model can also be used as a framework for teaching multiliteracies. Now listen up, the time has come for you to step out of the ranks of student teacher and become agents of social change.
You have very important top secret tasks to complete. Your tasks, if you dare to accept them, are detailed in these top secret envelopes. Each group, you will be working in 3 groups. Each group will receive a top secret task and must combine their powers to successfully complete it.
You will have 5 minutes to complete your task.